to get the horse and carriages, literally, in order to rally up the Amish. Is that happening in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, horse and buggy, more like horse and ballot. What I'm seeing is, I think the Amish, for a lot of years, they sit out, right? They're just not that engaged. They see themselves as kind of the number one anti-establishment minority in the country. I mean, they are. They're about as anti-government. I mean, it's probably them and some of these Indian reservations that have really laid down the law and said, hey, no, we're not going to be part of your system. This is now Donald Trump versus the deep state. This is now the uniparty versus blue-collar workers. This is now normal, everyday people seeing a guy get impeached, seeing him get charged, found guilty, shot in the face. Like, at a certain point, he is the dissident, right? And I think that they're connecting in a way, and they're voting. And when we talk to them at the door, I mean, once again, these mail-in ballots make it so easy for them. Hey, just fill this out. We'll send it in. You don't have to travel anywhere in town. You don't have to use any type of machine, and your vote will get counted. I think this will be the largest amount of Amish voters in the history of PA politics. And you'll see that in other states that have Amish populations.
Rumspringa.
I love it. I think it's fantastic. I mean, it's like they're sort of disenfranchised, right? I mean, they don't normally vote. So great, adding more people. I mean, I don't know which side to take. I'm either like, we should all stop voting or everybody should vote. I don't know.
We're also hearing there's going to be a lot of Polish people that are going to be a big deciding factor in Pennsylvania. And because there's a lot of Polish people previously lived in New York City that have moved down to Pennsylvania that are creating huge voter blocks.
You should be campaigning. Are you going to campaign there with
my Polish people?
Yeah.
My peeps?
You should put out some Polish videos.
You and Jack Posobiec should just do a two-man show there. Just bring out all the Poles.
You got to give out Polish food to all the people, bro, voting in
I'm going to message Jack right now. And
pierogies and politics.
Send that message. It'll be cool to set up a little pierogi, pierogi event.
He loves his pierogi.
Yeah, pierogies are absolutely incredible and awesome. And the original dumplings. Dumplings copied the pierogies. So,
no, we need to do a pierogi versus empanada. I think the empanadas win. Just saying.
Gosh. I tried to make pierogies for everyone, and I made some and I served them to Roger Stone, but I'm telling you, they were more like empanadas than pierogies. I've never even had real pierogies before.
Let's just say I was a little disappointed.
Yeah. But everyone was super hungry and everyone was super grateful.
As a long-time pierogi eater, listen, there's a high bar to achieve.
You have a non-Polish assistant
I'm not going to sugarcoat things, okay? All right? We got to be honest.
You got to say it how it is.
No.
Those pierogies tasted like empanadas.
No,
everybody ate them, though, and that's okay.
They were great, and you need to shush. Don't make him anything else ever again, please, and thank you.
I will starve and have no sustenance ever in my life. But anyway, let's talk about the Joe Rogan effect here, because a lot of people talk about the Joe Rogan bump that happens after you appear on the Joe Rogan podcast, which I've been patiently waiting 15 years to be on. Since Joe Rogan followed me for 15 years, we DM'd, but I never wanted to ask him to be on because that looks really bad. But he never had me on. He had all my friends on. No bad feelings there at all. No jealousy.
We love you, Joe. We love you.
No jealousy there at all. But a lot of people report always being on the Joe Rogan podcast, a major podcast, a huge podcast, and then receiving a major significant boost that essentially launches their career. What effect is this going to have on Donald Trump? Will this put him over the hump? Will this be able to secure enough votes to make sure that there's no kind of larger finagling when it comes to this year's election? What do you guys think?
I can't wait for it. But honestly, I'm looking more forward to the Kamala interview than I am the Trump interview. Because the Trump interview, I mean, I know what he's going to say. It's like, I do great. I'm fantastic. Like, it's going to be Trump doing the Trump, like, shtick, right? I can't wait for the Kamala one.
I still think, though, that the average person watches the mainstream media and they believe what they're told through the news. So if they see Trump listening in their car on a podcast and he's just talking like, they're like, well, I didn't know this side of him. Because you're very educated. You've broken free of the matrix, okay, Martha? Not everyone has, and I think to the average person who's undecided or used to be maybe a liberal, or they see him talking, they're like, whoa, dude, this guy's likable, he's relatable, he's not like just like this contrived puppet reading a teleprompter,
Well, this is the first time, probably in the last 40 to 50 years, maybe since Reagan, where the more people that vote, the more of a chance Trump has at winning. And that's typically not the case for Republicans. It used to be, those folks that are very hardcore following politics, that care about voting. But Trump has really broken the wall on this getting to the blue collar worker, right? Becoming the party of working class America. The reason Rogan will be so important is what you just said. So many people don't hear the message, right? We all hear it because we're inundated, we're following it. But a lot of these folks, this will be the first time, and it's not going to be millions and millions, it's the first time, but you'd be surprised how many people.
Are you kidding me? It's going to be millions and millions. Not the first time, I guess.
So like Theo Vaughn, when he did Theo Vaughn's show, I can't tell you how much that probably helped him with young people, right? And Theo's type of kind of this just knack of being this, this folksy guy, but they're not following politics. And so I think the Rogan bump is going to be all of those people that are used to getting one story, one narrative on who Trump is. And so we might see the Trump stuff, but this will be the first time they do.
Amen. Yes.
Mm-hmm. I just think it's going to be huge. I mean, it's like when Trump went on Tucker Carlson. It was just huge. And I think that a whole bunch of people are going to see it, and it's going to be fantastic. But again, it needs to be followed up by the disaster that will be the train wreck of Kamala's.
Yeah. Trump's doing a lot of cool. He was on Nelk Boys. He's on Theo Vaughn. He's on The Undertaker. He's on going on Joe Rogan. What is Kamala doing? Call your daddy? I mean, what is she doing?
She's went on Bret Baier. Did you not see that one? That was fantastic.
That was a nice interview.
That was great.
For everyone else that finally got to see her being questioned
60
properly.
minutes.
Posobiec just messaged me back. He was like, I was just hitting up the Polish National Shrine in Dolostown. They even have a Polish mass. So Jack Posobiec is already there, trying to reach out to the Polish people out there. And I think there is a big voting group that are finally kind of understanding that, we kind of have to do this. And a lot of the times, a lot of people were on the sidelines. So I don't know about you, and I don't know what you're seeing on the ground, Cliff, but I'm expecting record numbers of new voters and voters this year that probably will beat the record of 2020.
Oh, I definitely think this will be the highest attendance when it comes to voter turnout. And what's wild about it is, I'm not going to say I'm going to quit politics if Trump loses, but after watching that Bret Baier interview, if a majority of people actually vote for Harris because they are so brainwashed to hate Trump, I don't really know where you go after that, right? If you lose this election, and look, I'm not a doomsayer that in 2025 the world's going to be over, but the slippery slope of losing what we have left of the republic, I would be so disappointed in the American people. But I think you're going to see record turnouts in every single state, and I think it's the most polarized we've ever been. But I'm interested to see if the Democrats lose, what does their party become? They're losing with black men now. They're losing with Hispanic men. They're definitely losing with white men. They're losing with so many of these demographics. What's the demographic they're gaining with?
Immigrants.
People that just got here.
The Latinos.
Excuse me. Not all Latinos.
The cat women, majority of Latinos. The cat women.
The trans community.
White women.
Taylor Swift's fans.
The fighting age
Lizzo's
men.
fans. Everyone else on the P. Diddy extortion tapes. Right?
I mean, Eminem's doing Kamala tonight.
Yeah, the cartels are going to be really happy about
Kamala. Kamala's doing Kamala, yes.
What?
In Detroit.
What?
I don't know if it's
Robbie has a poor choice of words there.
That sounded dirty.
Say that again.
He's performing, or the real version or the clone version, I don't know. He's performing in Detroit. He came out with a video where he hates Trump, but he doesn't relate to the working class and the people around him. I grew up loving Eminem, but I'm like, dude, he just seems very...
What, you mean all those millions of dollars?
That's what's wild about Trump, though, because Trump is a billionaire, right? Mm-hmm. And he's connecting so well with these blue-collar folks. And then you have people like Eminem who really grew up, with a horrible, tough upbringing that should be able to connect. And I think the Democrats, and I'll give alternative media, I'll give Luke a shout out, but all these different programs where people just get to see so much more content, you're not just getting one narrative of like, hey, this is who Kamala Harris is, this is who Donald Trump is. I mean, the guy went to McDonald's, kept his tie on with his shirt.
That was a great troll.
Brilliant. It was fantastic.
Brilliant. And Kamala just can't pull that stuff off.
No, but I love that. Like, so when Kamala goes to places, she'll put on her tennis shoes and she'll pretend to be one of those people. Trump is Trump everywhere he goes, and I think that's a brilliant move.
Kamala changes her accent.
Using all rap songs.
Right. Trump won't even change his shirt.
Did you see the Maria Shriver interview? They said we were not taking any questions from the crowd. It's all pre-scripted. That's not a town hall.
Right. Well, the one that Kamala and Trump, they both did the same thing with Univision, and it was great that Trump went in and kind of had like a good discussion. I haven't watched the Kamala one. I can't.
I'm pretty sure, is that the one where we all got to see her teleprompter?
Yeah,
no, I don't think it was her teleprompter. I think it was the anchor's teleprompter.
Yeah.
So that's
cool.
another correction, because there's a lot of fake news being spread around by a lot of people, and it's kind of infuriating because the left. I saw this on CNN, and CNN was toting about this. Random account said this. And I'm like, oh, okay, like, fine.
She actually had the timer on there as well. When it wasn't the teleprompter for the host, it was her timer, so she knew how much time like she had to answer the question.
What it is in the video is that it just turns off halfway. So the accusation is, oh, they found out, like, we're showing the teleprompter, so midway through we're going to turn it off.
I don't think that was the case. I think that was the anchor literally reading, what they usually read to the general public, because the anchors read through the teleprompters.
Right. He needed to know the name of the people that he was calling up to. Like, he needed that information.
Yeah, they were trying to say that they turned it off because they were hiding it, but that's not true.
No.
Are the Dems having regrets for kicking Biden to the curb?
Yeah, probably. They're polling worse than they did when Biden was around. So those are bad numbers.
That should tell you something.
Yeah.
They should have regret not for pulling Biden, but for not having a primary, not letting RFK take that ticket.
They railroaded him. That's why he joined Trump.
Absolutely.
But I love that. Make America Healthy Again. Tulsi Gabbard, Elon Musk, Vivek.
This is so
We've never
great.
had this before.
No, they were expecting another Bernie to just go, take his money and go and lick his wounds in the corner. And instead, this man is becoming the best ally that Trump has anywhere. And I think that is just so great.
And as soon as he came out to endorse, all of a sudden they come out with all these stories to smear him as usual. You
the
that.
bear and the dog.
McDonald's has E. coli now. Trump was there, right?
Oh, yeah. The E. coli psyop that we're going through right now. We actually have a video of Biden and Obama talking about what actually went on behind the scenes.
I love this.
We'll be playing this video in about 30 minutes on the next platform that
the one with
allows free speech. But it was the New York Post actually got a professional lip reader, and they did their own transcript. So we'll be going over that in about 30 minutes from now on the other platform. Now, just to finish off this latest kind of conversation about Joe Rogan, because this is going to be a big interview. I'm going to be paying close attention to it. I would hope that they, shoot it Friday and release it Monday. So then all the corporate media will be freaking out about it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And that's exactly what they would do. They're going to be losing their mind here. It's clear Joe Rogan has a horse in this race. Joe Rogan previously described his kind of understanding of the situation in this race by recently saying this on his podcast.
He was in all the rap songs. Rappers would always talk about Trump. Everybody loved Trump. It was like this wheeling, dealing billionaire character that everybody enjoyed.
Yeah. I felt like he did a decent job.
As president? When you look at his regulations, it certainly helped the economy. I mean, that guy who was the head of...
I feel like we were in a lot better spot then than now, for sure.
Without a doubt. Well, there's a lot happened in the world. Right. The world scares the shit out of me right now. Right now, I'm like, boy, this is not good. None of this Ukraine thing, not good. Yeah, everything not good. Everything scares the shit out of me. I'm looking at all of it going, like, there's no good solutions to the Middle East. All of it looks terrible. And the Ukraine thing looks terrible. It just scares the shit out of me, because it's just like all it takes is one person to launch a nuke and the world changes forever.
Right.
And I've never felt like that was a possibility in my lifetime until now.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean...
And that's a real concern that I think a lot of Americans have, as of course the shirt that I'm wearing right now reads, "Don't nuke me, bro." Of course, that's a situation that we're kind of involved in. It's a real situation. I think Joe Rogan realizes it, and this is why he is going to be interviewing Donald Trump. After this, he's going to feel the pressure to be, not biased. I think, other kind of larger entities will kind of come in here and be like, now you got to interview Kamala. Mm-hmm. I'm going to think that Kamala interview is going to be a lot more interesting than the Trump interview. But let's just hope that it goes on for 2 to 3 hours. Let's hope that they bring up DMT, chimpanzees, and all the other regular topics of discussion that Joe Rogan brings up in order to, of course, get some unique perspectives on the world that we wouldn't naturally get. If I'm Donald Trump here, I'm specifically coming out with like major news. I'm coming out with things that are going to get a lot of headlines from this that is going to kind of carry this story, because for a lot of people, Joe Rogan is their average Joe. He speaks to them. He normalizes a lot of things in our society that the corporate media tries to keep away from the general public and constrained. And as we saw during 2021, Joe Rogan absolutely opened up the Pandora box with individuals questioning their own kind of personal health choices, and really did push the Overton window in a very positive light. He did a lot of incredibly important work. Say what you might about him and has deleted his episodes with some of the most controversial people, he has still, I think, awakened a lot more people to deeper issues than almost any other online commentator next to Tucker Carlson in this kind of media sphere. So this is a big deal. And this is going to be a culture clashing kind of major battle that's going to be, I think, the deciding factor for the future of this country.
Yeah, I think he would be the smartest guy to come out and just look in the camera, talk to Joe, and say, "I brought the unity party. I have a unity party. I've got Elon Musk. I've got Tulsi Gabbard. I've got ex-Democrat RFK. I've got Vivek. No tax on tips, no new wars, and just appeal to the people." And just because I don't see him talking a lot like that about Make America Healthy Again and bringing up some of the cool things he's actually doing.
Well, I think a rally versus a sit down with Joe Rogan, I actually think that Trump's specialty is a sit down because he can have a real conversation. Now, unfortunately, a lot of these cable shows, you're getting 15 minutes or you're getting an hour maximum. So I think having those conversational types of talks help him tremendously. And it's funny you list all these people, whether it's RFK, whether it's Tulsi, whether it's Elon. I kind of look at this as the independent thinkers versus the narrative, right? And that's why they had to have Kamala. They needed somebody that the military-industrial complex and all of these goons in D.C. that make money off the gravy train, they have to keep it going. And it's wild to me that they decided it was a better bet to toss Joe and replace her. Now, I might have made the same decision if I was them because anybody would have been better. But she just doesn't have any type of skill. She doesn't have anything that she brings to the table. I mean, I love some of these videos I see where they ask people, why are you supporting Kamala? But don't use the word Trump. And they can't even get to a point. They can't think without just, there's nothing to point to.
There's no policy.
There's nothing there. It's wild.
But Trump's last administration, I didn't like the people he had around. This is totally different. The Pompeos, the Boltons. I didn't like neocons.
Yeah, well, let me be the first to say that. I mean, the thing that got me most excited about Trump 2.0, for 2024, the guy's got a chip on his shoulder, right? If you're somebody like me that wants to destroy some of these corrupt things in D.C., you now have a guy when he goes in, okay, he's been spied on. I already said he's been shot in the face, right? He's been backstabbed by so many of these kind of defense contractor types. I think we have to be in all these countries all the time. If there's ever somebody I wanted, let's say it's not even Donald Trump, but somebody with that profile where they're ready to take Ramaswamy's plan and gut 50% of the federal bureaucracy.
Afuera, let's go.
Send these people home. That's why I'm so excited. People ask me, like, how does this libertarian, they were spending under Trump. Like, you're missing the whole point. This guy is the anti-establishment figure of our generation. And he's ready to go in, surround himself with the right people, start no new wars once again, hopefully bring some troops home. You got to get amped up about that. This is the battle to not sit out, get involved.
It's unbelievable. You go on Twitter, people are promoting Kamala, and you're like, dude, you're pro-war. I don't think they know that they're pro-war.
I don't think they know
They're
either.
brainwashed.
They're excited because they have Cheney's now on their team.
Dick Cheney.
They're excited. They're like, oh my God, let's go. Dick Cheney's on your team.
Tim Waltz was talking about it. He was bragging about it on a late night TV show.
He was.
We have
and
that
having
clip too.
the Chinese.
Yeah.
I thought that was like fantastic because he went to China 20 times. I mean, on a teacher's salary. Who paid for those trips? But anyways, it's like, and the Chinese. Oh my God, I can't wait to play that video.
Well, the predicted market is responding pretty positively, as of course odds just shot up to 97% after the news was announced that Trump is going to be on Joe Rogan. We also got a live alleged report of Kamala Harris finding out that Trump will be going on Joe Rogan's podcast. Here's the live reaction.
Donald J. Trump is now president of the United States. President Obama. What a great honor to be able to introduce for the first time ever anywhere the 45th President of the United States of America,
I'd love to know who she's voting for this round.
Debatable.
No, that's Tim Waltz. I don't know if you, I don't know why you guys.
I don't know. I don't
see
presume.
the resemblance there.
I don't presume to know how they identify. I apologize. Not meaning to
Shame on you.
Listen,
I know.
how dare you criticize it? All right, that's so wrong of you. Andrew Yang came out in response to all of this, saying, "So now that Trump is going on Rogan, I think Kamala Harris should publicly say she'll go on too. It's
Yes,
the biggest
let's
audience
go.
one could get."
So
Yes.
I interviewed Andrew Yang recently, and I tried to get him. I'm like, hey man, like look, all politicians have sucked my whole life. Democrats have been in office 12 of the last 16 years. At the very least, if Bobby gets in to clean up the food, don't you think it's a good idea? He's like, well, I just don't. I'm like, do you have TDS? I posted the video. He gives this reaction, the look on his face. You zoom in on it. He's got TDS. He's a Democrat. He doesn't want to lose.
Excuse me. He called himself an independent in a tweet the other day.
He doesn't have the balls. He doesn't have the balls to support Tulsi, and he wants to support the establishment.
No. But he's like, I'm an independent. No, you're not. You literally ran as a Democrat. You just are now an independent because the Democrats.
He's a nice guy, but it just he wouldn't. He's like, I just don't trust Trump. I'm like, bro, but what about people around him? I mean, dude, it's not. What politician do you trust? They've all been sketchy our whole life.
Yeah, I mean, he's a politician too. So, what politician does he trust? None of them, because he knows exactly what they're like. So whatever. I mean, they're all like, if you're on Team Kamala, it just feels like you were probably on an airplane to Lolita Island, or you went to a white party that Diddy threw. At this point, I mean, did you see Usher on stage? And like,
I saw Usher
love
on
Kamala. It's like, oh come on.
I saw Usher on The View, and he wouldn't support anyone. All of a sudden, the P Diddy allegations come out, and all of a sudden, he supports Kamala. Andrew Yang, if you're listening, you support Dick Cheney. You should be ashamed of yourself. So many innocent people died out there because of him, and you should be ashamed.
Oh, Robbie,
Lizzo
I
too.
watched you.
Lizzo too also faced a lot of serious allegations when it came to assaulting her staff. So she also was paid very well to endorse Kamala Harris, as she made videos about it on her private jet, which of course appeals very much to the blue collar middle class.
Yeah, she got on her private jet with her her little fuzzy slippers and stuff. So it definitely appeals to the.
Such a cringy video too.
We love Lizzo. What? She's, you know what? She's actually lost a lot of weight and changed her
I
life.
give her credit.
No, she didn't. She almost made that plane go down by stepping on the
come on,
frickin'.
Luke. Come on. You know what? We got to give her credit.
That is not healthy.
She used to say that her body doesn't do that. She's like, I eat healthy and I work out and all of this, and my body
she's
doesn't do that.
She's a vegan.
No, I think she started like actually eating like right.
Oreos.
Dude. Anyways.
Oreos.
With raw milk, hopefully.
Not raw. Anyway, we have a bunch of super chat stuff. Let's read them.
Steph, let's take them away. All right. So we have Abri says, Dems got all the Diddy celebrities. Got to get a new shirt for them. Compromise for Kamala. Thank you guys for the essential fatty. Everyone subscribe if you haven't. Thank you, Abri, for doing your comment via mysuperchat.com. We also have Andrew Jacobs saying, would love it if Josie became a regular co-host.
Yeah, Josie, what's up? I texted Josie. I'm like, you want to be a co-host? So she's like, oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. So, you know, why not? We'll see. I just asked her.
She's great. We also have another one from Andrew Jacobs saying, would love to see Josie become a regular co-host. Luke, you want to say anything?
That's the same thing. I responded to it.
A lot of love for Josie.
A lot
She's
of
great.
love. And we have Dayton saying that bad word TV behind Luke has been at 34% for 2 days.
We're working on it. It pops up sporadically here, but it's the amount of life force energy that I have left in me that is just dwindling down extremely quickly. And the more super chats we get, the more that number goes up, and you might actually see what's on that
You might
screen.
see Atlas.
So mysuperchat.com. Yeah.
You know what? People should like not criticize you, because at least you're not making a whole video about how the technology and the amount of work you have.
Oh yeah, the
it's
TV's
so hard.
at 34%. I'm quitting, guys. We're off air now. I'm done.
Yes,
Fired.
it's so
everyone.
hard. It's so
Fired.
hard to run a show. So, you know, at least you're not making that video.
There's so many millions of dollars here that, you know, we have to play around with that.
We can't keep the show going.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll get the email from Kamala.
There's an oopsie.
Listen, I'm not going to push that bear. I would like to go back on that show eventually, so I'm just going to shut up and sit down now. All right. Bye.
Mako7790 says, are the Democrats panicking through about this.
That's a great super chat, Mako, and that leads us into, of course, this next segment, and that is the Democrats are freaking out about this, as, of course, they are resorting to some really strange and weird tactics here. A CNN panelist came out and said if white people are not voting for Kamala Harris, they should be, quote, held accountable for not doing so. What? There's another commentator, Dem strategist Carvile, that came out and is literally telling males of color that they will be arrested if Donald Trump becomes the next president of the United States. Yes, absolutely unhinged rants from these individuals, just highlighting what I see as very desperate people resorting to some very desperate measures. Let's play a little bit of the CNN clip and then respond to it, because it does seem like the corporate media's favorite candidate, Kamala Harris, is absolutely getting beat viciously in the polls, and this is how they're reacting to it.
Last night, this is the first time since he was in Pittsburgh, and invoked the potential of sexism in his appeal to black men to support the vice president. Angela, should there be a course correction? Because there was so much backlash to that framework, was it a mistake for the former president to say what he did or to say it publicly? What was your assessment of what we heard from former President Obama?
Poor Barack Obama, they probably got him in the Diddy tapes. He's out there being like, black guys, please vote for Kamala. And the black guys are saying, nope, that's not going to happen. Cliff, you have some interesting perspectives on this. We're going to go to you in a little bit, but let's play the rest of this clip here because this reaction is really dumb.
You know, I think that it's wonderful that President Obama is out hitting the trail for democracy, frankly. And what I think is a mistake is to let white folks escape the accountability that they must face for not showing up to save democracy themselves. Like, they want to get mad at presidential candidates, right, when they don't wear a flag lapel pin or they don't see you pledging allegiance to the flag. That's what they want to get upset about. Now, the face of patriotism to them looks like trying to tear down the Capitol in a terrorist attack on January 6, 2021. So the responsibility of saving democracy should be on the largest demographic in this country. That is white men and white women. I don't want to see a women's march with pussy hats come January if something doesn't go right. What I want to see is for them to march themselves to the polls, including today.
Yeah, you hear that, whiteys? Crackers, you better be accountable for not voting for Kamala, or else I don't know what. But that was a ridiculous claim there, as of course they have the same things that they're running on, J6 and women's rights. Nothing else.
I think most people were lied to.
Other than shaming people and attacking them for not believing in their cult.
I mean, think about it. Last time was like, you're not black if you don't vote for Biden. And now like this, it seems like they just repeat the same playbook. It's constantly like putting people down. Like, if you don't vote, you're blah, 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 blah.
And the irony here, we got to save democracy.
Oh, yeah.
You're not really saving democracy by, preventing primaries, ousting presidents of the United States, and putting in people there last minute, very undemocratically, as this Biden administration has, of course, violated the law, in my opinion, many times, especially with the DOJ, with the larger political prosecution of a lot of their political opponents that has been happening within the last few years. So, yeah. Save me the larger kind of crocodile tears there, and I don't think you really care about democracy at all.
I think they got away with it in 2020 because it was, kind of so fresh off just they dealt with Trump for 4 years, and all of a sudden it was, hey, this guy is the devil, he's a devil. They've been saying it now, what's it been, 12 years, right? I mean, 2014, he was everybody's favorite guy. Mm-hmm. Right? Then he gets in political life. He becomes a problem, a challenge to the status quo. But you're right. I mean, look at all their talking points: threat to democracy, against women's rights, and J6. And I just think so many people, after a while, you tune it out. Right? At a certain point, it's like, look, can we talk about hey, putting food on the table? Can we talk about not paying double the price for gas? And I hate even saying those things because it sounds like a political talking point. But they're not even saying those things because they can't.
No.
And so they're all in on making sure that this is a referendum on Trump, yet the person they chose to replace without getting any votes is the current vice president. So how do you distance yourself from what is going on?
Her constant, every tour, every interview, she's like, we got to turn the page. Bitch, you are the page. And if we turn it, that's an endorsement for Donald Trump. Like, I don't understand who writes her speeches, but these people, I mean, they don't come across as smart.
No.
Is it just me? Like, how do you use that phrase? Turn the page.
It's not just smart. I think the number one thing that alternative media has also created is we can see authenticity, right? Normal people can watch all of this content. You can hear different things, and you're not just getting the 30-second clip at night from MSNBC telling you what to think. That's why I think people like JD Vance, a lot of people had outrage when he was picked. You know, oh, there were better people, this or that. I actually really like him. I think because of the authenticity, you know, you might disagree on certain policies. I agree with him on a lot of policies.
Yeah.
But the authenticity, I think, that matters to folks a lot more that are outside of the political bubbles. When he talks about his story of being raised in a drug-ridden community, I'm from outside of Philadelphia. I grew up in a very similar town. There's a lot of great, hardworking people, but fentanyl has beat the hell out of our town. And so I think that there's just these things of authenticity. Then you look at Harris. You look at Walz. Do they connect with anybody?
No.
Does anybody get excited like that guy or
They
that
seem
girl
fraudulent.
represents me?
And JD Vance, I didn't like him either. And then I watched the vice president debate, and I was like, well, actually, I kind of like this dude. And now he's on Theo Vaughn. I was listening earlier today. He's pretty relatable.
I didn't like him either. When he was picked, I was like, oh, why? And then I watched the same debate. I was like, oh, I actually like him.
Let me tell you a quick story about him. So I'm at the Florida CPAC 2021. Okay, he's a candidate. He's not even the nominee yet. And we're at the breakfast, like, because we're both speaking in the afternoon. And I had no idea who he was. I mean, I knew of him, but never met him. And he comes in and he's by himself, no staff. He's not being paraded around. He's not puppeted like a lot of these politicians, both Republicans and Democrats. But anyway, he comes over. And the guy I was with, Anthony Sabatini, was like, hey, you know, you want to sit down? He's like, yeah, I got no one to eat with. Right. And just the conversation, like, it was very different from any conversation with all these, you know, very uppity politicians. He's not a country club guy. He's not some guy that was
That's
scripted.
about to change.
Scripted.
If it hasn't already.
But I think that matters to so many of the people that Trump needs. He needs those blue collar voters that either won't show up or they're typically like the old school Democrats. Well, my parents were Democrat. I'm going to vote Democrat. This is going to create that political shift that Trump needs to win.
Well, they say RFK admitted to turning down the VP. If you saw the interview, did you see the interview? Mm-hmm. And I mean, look, JD Vance, they're saying is Peter Thiel's boy. I haven't done the research on that. I don't know if you.
I've heard that as well.
Yeah.
That concerned me a little bit.
That did raise a flag to me.
Yeah.
But he's a likable dude. He's swearing. I was just listening to the interview before we came on. He's dropping F-bombs. I mean, it's really interesting.
Well, Alex
that's
Jones
how you win me over,
swears
for sure.
by him. Alex Jones says that he did his own kind of sort of vetting, and then he likes JD Vance and he trusts him. So I like Alex Jones. I trust him on this particular
That's
matter.
an endorsement right there.
And yeah, if there's ever a person that passes the Illuminati check.
Well, he's going to be a major problem for the Democrats.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if they win, this is going to be. I mean, he will be the nominee in 28.
You don't think RFK Tulsi might try to run too?
Well, Trump might run for a third term, but that's for another day.
Vivek's probably going to try to run too as well.
Well, so. Vivek would be JD Vance's VP probably. He's only 39 years old, right?
They're both from Ohio. It's a problem. I think I think Vivek becomes the governor.
They can move.
Senator. I think he takes his Vance's seat. They got to fill it. Yeah. So if he becomes VP, they got to fill that Senate seat. Nobody's
then he
talking
won't.
about
but
that.
what about Trump's cabinet? Then he won't do both.
No, you're right. So there's going to have to be an option. But I think, if we can get him in the Senate, I mean, he is a lightning rod.
A lot of people are asking him from Ohio, are saying, hey, are you going to take that position? Like, to Vivek, we really want you there. So
but he's also looking for a position within Trump's White House.
Right.
So he's also trying to be a part of his administration.
But he didn't deny it. He didn't deny the affiliation with Ohio as a position.
They're also asking him to run for governor, right? But in politics, capital is having options, right? So he's going to keep all options open and see where he lands.
Where would you want to have him?
That's
in a perfect world.
That's a good question.
I mean, I'd like to see him as the borders are.
Oh, okay.
I think he's just such a great communicator. I think whatever the number one issue of the administration is, let's say when Trump gets in, I think you want Vivek doing a lot of your, I don't want to say just spokesman type stuff, because I think he's higher than that. He's cabinet level. But I think you don't want to just toss him away somewhere. It's almost like what the Democrats did when they thought that Buttigieg was their shining boy, right? And then they just kind of gave him this spot, and he's horrendous, and he's incompetent. But I'd really like to make sure that Vivek is doing something that has some oomph, and that's either, to me, senator, governor, or some sort of role where it's not just a title.
I like that. I think the border is great for him. I think senator, governor, they're all great spots. And
I think I want to see him a part of Trump's administration personally. I think that would be the better fit, the better bang for your buck. I mean, sorry for the people of Ohio, but it's Ohio.
I think he would be great as
there's a lot of things we need. Trump has a bad hiring record, and I think Vivek would be a good hire. From my opinion, from my personal interactions with him and the times that I've spent with him, I think he is a legitimate person from everything that I've experienced.
He's on record saying, someone asked him the question, he said, whatever Trump wants me to do. He said, be in the cabinet or run for...
He needs to be the speaker. He needs to be the one who's like, out, not the speaker of the House. I mean, like the press guy. He needs to be the one answering the questions. He's great on his feet. I don't think you're going to find...
Well, Luke, I hadn't thought about that I do want him in the room when Trump's trying to make some of these decisions about personnel and how do we actually... I mean, heck, maybe he partners up with Elon. You know, to cut down some of this crap.
The government. Let's go.
Trim the government, baby.
Afuera.
Well, it'll be interesting to see because I think either way, the Democrats are not going to be happy. I'm going to continue on this larger kind of conversation because I think they're worth talking about. We got another super chat that kind of relates to this from Mako7790, who's asking if we should prepare for a violent situation if Trump wins, and if so, how do we prepare for it? Well, I think first of all, we should be doing everything in our power to avoid any kind of larger escalation, any kind of violent situation. But I think it is also fair to criticize the corporate media for radicalizing a lot of people, especially a lot of people who are usually emotionally unstable. If you look at the larger kind of statistics amongst the left, liberal women and liberal men have some of the lowest overall satisfaction and happiness in life. If you look at mental health problems, overwhelmingly a huge problem on the left, specifically amongst young women and specifically also amongst a lot of young men, and a lot of which usually correlate with left-wing liberal policies. And I think there's a correlation there that is absolutely worth exploring and looking into, specifically why there is such a mental health crisis amongst the left. So I think this is something serious, and I think the comments from MSNBC here do not help the conversation that we're dealing with, as of course this is something that I queued up previously beforehand. Let's play the clip right now.
And, the other question is, were you better off 4 years ago? Are you going to be better off in a penitentiary 4 years from now, or still having the right of free speech and the right of political dissent? Because that's literally what's on the ballot. And I suspect in 1941, I don't know if people thought they were better off than they were 4 years ago, or in 1861, what people thought. But I know this, when the Republic was threatened, people picked up arms and answered the call, when 1965, in the middle of the civil rights movement, I think people decided they want to take matters in their own hands and create a better country, and that's what I hope we do here in the next 2 weeks.
Absolutely reckless, idiotic,
the rage and Cajun.
Stupid comments.
He's got to go back to, have you guys seen Road Trip? He's got to go back to his roles on comedy movies.
But no, this is absolutely dangerous. This
the
is
old
absolutely
man, what the old man saying?
James Carvell, yeah.
He's talking about voting for Kamala. He's talking with extremely violent rhetoric that we don't need right now. We are in a situation that's not very good for America. And to have these comments is really not reassuring to what is going to be happening on November 5th. What do you guys?
Well, I think, look, why do you think they tried to kill the president? I mean, when you go after Trump, it's like, yeah, we all say it. But if you call a guy Hitler and you say the enemy must be defeated and the threat must be taken out, I just think it's wild because I think it's funny how Democrats say this stuff. They get away with it, and they're somehow the morally superior party and the people that are trying to save the democracy. And yet the Republicans aren't doing it, and somehow they're trying to label them. I mean, the gaslighting from the left this cycle, I don't think I've ever seen anything where they are trying to make Trump out to be and the Republicans out to be what they are. And I just think that is wild. And I honestly, I just don't think they're getting away with it.
I think they are getting away with it because nobody's really, yes, we're all calling them out, but the left doesn't call themselves out. They're not like, this is ridiculous. Why are you saying this? And to answer Luke's question from earlier, I'm also not really worried if Trump wins about, I'm more worried if Kamala wins, to be honest. I'm a little concerned.
I think either way, we're facing a very difficult situation in this country. Financially, I think also spiritually, more importantly, mentally. The mental health crisis is just going to be exacerbated after November 5th. There's going to be half of the country reeling and dealing with some significant issues mentally that are going to be very difficult for them to deal with. And there's not a lot of kind of off-ramps. There's not a lot of avenues in our society. Free speech is important to, of course, get rid of a lot of these kind of radicalization, crazy people that absolutely have lost their mind. But again, the corporate media using this rhetoric, and we know the rhetoric is only going to heat up from them after November 5th, especially if they lose. Even if they win, they're still going to heat up the rhetoric because now they're in a position of power. And as we've seen with that power, they usually wield it in very kind of demanding and strong-willed kind of ways where a lot of the people who stand in their way are usually crushed, prosecuted, punished, audited, investigated, and in many times sent to jail. So this is kind of a big important situation that I think is worth paying attention to, and I think these individuals and I think MSNBC needs to be called out for a lot of this reckless rhetoric right now.
Yeah, and I think it's not just who wins or loses, it's what happens, right? And by the way, if you think Trump winning is the end of the battle, if you're a supporter of Trump or the Make America Healthy Again movement, then that's just the first step, right? I mean, you're going to have to get things done in Congress. You're going to have to fight with some of these states. I mean, you're going to have to unravel a lot of this system. But let's say Harris wins, right? I don't think people are rioting in the streets if she truly wins the election. But what do? Do they continue to weaponize against all of their political opponents? Do they continue to marginalize any white dude who comes from a poor family, but because he's white, he's screwed in America? I think it's the policies that come with it. And I'm not a believer that if Harris wins, like I said, we're going to have World War III the next day. I think it will come. But I think it's about what happens. And I think what'll make some of the rhetoric on the left, or at least actual normal people that vote Democrat, is if we do tamper down these World War III conflicts around the world, if we do see gas prices come down, if people can pay their mortgage, if people can buy houses again. So I think the policies that come with it are going to decide just how quickly this escalates or hopefully de-escalates.
I think the Dems are getting desperate, and I think they're going to pull something. With Trump gaining this much traction in the poly market and the odds and people, I think they're going to panic. They're going to pull something, some sort of...
You mean like another assassination attempt? I mean, what else could we possibly do at this point?
Well, if you look online, some people don't even think it was a real assassination. They thought it was staged.
Which is hilarious because it's always like, no, that's not true. That's not true. And then like something happens. They're like, no, it's not true. Like, come on. Like at what point are we going to like call things what they are? Like, I don't even know. The whole like... with Biden being like mentally potentially not well, it's like, that's not true. That's not true. And now it's like Trump's mentally unwell. It's like, I'm so sick of the bullshit.
It's just
Biden put the Trump
win.
hat on though.
I know, which is so great. I feel like Biden is
secretly
like
wants Trump to win. They did him dirty. Joe, if you're watching, they did you dirty, buddy. They did you dirty.
Come out and do some stuff.
Come out, support Make America Healthy Again. Let's change the food. Let's get all the ingredients that are banned in Europe. Let's get them cleaned up here. Bobby's coming in. We got Trump. We got Elon. Come on, Joe.
I don't think your sentiment is going to work here, as of course, throughout the duration of the show, I'm usually on Twitter, and we just got this video from Joe Biden that is talking about arresting Donald Trump.
Oh, God.
Here's the clip.
This is a guy who also wants to replace every civil servant, every single one. Thinks he has a right under the Supreme Court ruling on immunity to be able, if need be, if it was the case, to actually physically eliminate, shoot, kill someone who he believes to be a threat to him.
What?
I mean, so I know this sounds bizarre. It sounds like if I said this 5 years ago, you'd lock me up. We got to lock him up.
Wow.
Oh, God.
Yep.
Politically lock him up, he says at the end.
Yeah.
I thought Kamala was doing all the press conferences.
Lock him up. And then politically.
Oh, God, this is
what do you guys make from that?
That man is your president, Luke.
I know. I forget, and then I see these things, and I'm like, oh, dear God. I can't believe 81 million Americans ran to the polls to vote for this guy.
Well, I think people that were watching the news were just told that Trump is this horrible person, and then you see all the changes. People evolve. 2 assassination attempts it's not that I love Trump and everything about him, but I think the people around him, and I just think that we're in a better shape for a better economy, for no new wars. I don't want innocent people dying. Democrats are establishment. They're military-industrial complex pawns.
I mean, to be fair, I think Republicans are as well. I think
neocons and
yes,
warhawks.
Absolutely. But
I don't consider Trump one of those, though.
No. But I think that's like, he was clearly not their pick in 2016. They were like, oh, well, whatever, we got to deal with him. And I think that the neocons are kind of still in that position. They're like, he's not really our pick, but we got to go with him.
This is the first ticket in my lifetime that doesn't have a neocon on it.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Incredible.
Think about the Republican tickets, right? I mean, you can also look at the Democrat tickets, but it's the first time where neither one of the two candidates on the GOP ticket are just thirsting for war.
And that's what I think Trump did. I think when he first came in, think about it. If you're becoming president for the first time, you don't know what the hell to do. You don't know what you're going to do. They're like, you should have this guy. You should have this guy. And he has all these stupid people that are horrible in there. Now he's like, understands a little bit better.
I think he's still a little horrible. I mean, again, I know we're also, we all are supporting Trump, but in my case, I'm like dragging my feet supporting Trump.
Yeah, but don't you think people learn and evolve, and someone's
do,
trying to kill
but
you? You're like,
it's
whoa,
Trump.
maybe I found God. And then you're like, okay, let me make some changes. I have RFK. I have all these other people. We're going to change
And then
shit.
it's Trump. And he's still going around saying that COVID, he did an amazing job. I'm so wonderful. And everything I do is,
I
magnificent.
think he's learned from it a little.
I'll see on Joe Rogan. I can't wait for Joe Rogan, because Joe Rogan was
He'll call him
this
out.
is his opportunity.
I mean, Joe Rogan was like the most horrible person ever because he took ivermectin and didn't die from COVID, which is what everybody wanted. So I do hope that, oh, sorry. I didn't mean to say the C word. My apologies.
1 minute.
As of course, we're going to move over now towards a free speech platform on thebestpoliticalshow.com. It looks like we might have a caller. If there's a first-time caller, though, that could be you. Sign up to lukeunfiltered.com if you want to be a part of this conversation, and we will be going to you in about 30 minutes from now. Before moving over, Cliff, where can people find out more information about you?
Yeah, so our PA Chase program, we've got 120 full-time ballot chasers. We're knocking 500,000 doors in Pennsylvania for Trump. PAChase.com. If anybody wants to sponsor a ballot chaser, $175 is a full day. PAChase.com. And hey, if you want to come to Pennsylvania, if you don't want to sit on your couch, you want to actually talk to the voters, apply today. PAChase.com. We'll provide hotels, gas cards, and get you trained up. But we win PA, we win the White House. And the only way to do that is to fix the mail-in ballot problem. PAChase.com. That's how we fix it.
Let's fucking go.
Let's go.
Martha.
You can find me on X and Instagram at Bueno for Miami. And I just retweeted a tweet you put out, which I think is fascinating because some shenanigans were found in Pennsylvania. And so, y'all should check that out because, we need to fix the problem.
At Maloney. I missed my X plug. Yes, at Maloney. Check out that Erie video. Pretty wild.
It's great.
Robbie, man.
I think if you run into Kamala supporters like I did the other day in New York City, one of my friends was like, you're a moron. And I was like, no, you got to come from a place of love. And I was like, hey, and I had a talk with her. Now she's texting me. You got to come to these people. They're misguided. They don't understand the war impact. The media's brainwashed them. Come from love. Let's try to convert them in a peaceful way. Show them the facts, changing the food, anti-war. If you want to watch my Andrew Gang video asking if he has TDS, it's on Twitter, The Robbie Man, and it's on my Instagram, Robbie Man. I love you all.
Definitely. I also believe that we should take this moment of politics to unite and talk about these things because inherently it's all for the betterment of us. So you can follow me on X at StephWRC.
All right, we're moving over to thebestpoliticalshow.com. Atlas is excited for a very specific reason. We got an Atlas cam that we're going to be going to. There's also a lot of particular stories about Walt and the larger questions about his you-know-what that we're going to be discussing, as well as some other stuff related to health that this platform really doesn't like us talking about. So we're going to move over right now. Vote with your clicks, vote with your attention, and then comment.